Früher haben wir viele Mails von Leuten bekommen, vor allem von Frauen, in denen stand: Warum bringt ihr Matt und Kitty nicht öfter zusammen?
People all over the United States thought that Marshall, Matt, Dylan, and Miss Kitty were the perfect Western couple for 20 years. But the truth behind those soft looks on TV was much colder. James Arness quietly left the set every time the director yelled cut, and he never spoke to Amanda Blake. Fans thought that the singer was being subtle, but what they were really hearing was anger. On set, everyone could feel how tense it was. Still, no one spoke up. Because of how badly they felt about each other, CBS hid it for years to protect the famous image Gunsmoke had made. Soon, the truth about one of Hollywood's most famous fights started to come out. It was 1955 when Amanda Blake joined Gunsmoke. She was only 26 years old. In a field dominated by men, she was sure of herself, ambitious and set on making her mark. James Arness, who was 32 years old and still limped from a war injury, had just been chosen by John Wayne to play Marshall Dillon. At first it looked like they should be connected. She admired his quiet power, and he admired how determined she was. They worked together up to 12 hours a day, and they would often stay late to practice after the rest of the crew had left. America's best couple at first, they soon became rivals because of how well they got along. Blake became a fan favorite very quickly. A lot of letters came in praising her freedom and wit. Snorts. CBS began putting her in promotional pictures with Arness, not following him like they used to. That change made a man who liked order and control feel betrayed. It was said that there was creative strain in the show's third season. Blake became friends with Charles Mark Warren, the show's first director, who would often rewrite scenes to give Kitty more lines to say. Arness thought it was clear bias. In an interview, William Lava, a member of the crew, said, "You could see the change in Jim's face every time Amanda got a new line." That's when a working relationship turned into quiet war, a split so deep that the network fought for decades to hide it. There was no jealousy. It was more than that. How it feels to lose control of the world you used to rule. It all came to a head during a normal photo shoot in 1958. Arness paused and pulled back just as the cameras went off when they asked the two stars to stand closer. He said in a low voice, "Kitty doesn't need the Marshall that much." Blake didn't show her smile at first, but she later told a photographer, "When someone keeps making fences, it's hard to get close." After that, every look they shared on screen had a meaning they didn't say. Blake is said to have asked Jim, "You don't like me anymore, do you?" one afternoon between takes. Arness responded straight away, "I like you fine as long as the cameras are rolling." What started out as love had slowly turned into anger. By the mid-1960s, Gunsmoke was a force that could not be stopped. Arness was a TV star who made more money than many Hollywood movie stars. Women all over America looked up to Blake as an example of frontier feminism because she was brave, independent, and loved by many. But fame didn't make things better. Instead, it made it worse. The script for the 1963 show Kitty's Injury said that Dylan had to pull Kitty out of a barn that was on fire. For the trick, Arness had to lift Blake over and over again under the hot studio lights, even though his injury from the war was still hurting him. He said no to a fake double. The first take went well, but Arness lost it when Blake asked for another because he thought her face didn't look right. Blake fell from his arms and hit the floor at the end of the next rise. People heard that sharp scream. A lot of people say it was real. The movie wasn't made for 2 days. The accident was officially put down to being tired. After many years, sound engineer Ed Dunning remembered, "I saw Jim walk away with his jaw locked tight. He wasn't sorry." After that, output changed in a quiet way. The stars' shooting plans were changed so that they would appear together as little as possible. Scenes were set up with care. Less touching, more space, and almost no eye contact. But the tension made their efforts better. Some people called it smoldering chemistry. The team knew they were wrong. It was what they called barely controlled fury. By 1965, Arness had been agreed upon as a story. Blake always said no to any romantic moment that was mentioned, like a kiss, a touch, or a confession, because he thought it would ruin the show's realism. But costume artist Leah Rodis said it was easier than that. Pride. He couldn't let her have that moment. He told her he didn't want her to win. So, their love story on TV lived on, not because they were in love, but because they were quietly and stubbornly angry at each other. They weren't at that year's Christmas party. Arness stayed with his family at home. Blake made dinner for a small group of close crew members. After that night, they lived in 2 different Gunsmoke worlds. No one was ready for the last goodbye. In the 1970s, both stars were getting old, and Gunsmoke was staying alive more out of habit and tradition than out of love. Blake wanted her to become a better person. She came up with a plot that said Miss Kitty used to be a madam and then fixed her life. It was risky, ahead of its time, and would have shown her more than just the bar doors. But Aries killed the idea right away. When he met with director John Mantelli behind closed doors, he said that such a story would hurt the Marshal's reputation. Agreed quickly. Blake was very sad. Later she told a friend, "I wanted to show women that Kitty was flawed, that she fought her way up, but Jim wanted her spotless as long as he could keep her under his thumb. The stress became dangerous. They didn't talk much on set unless the cameras were running. The crew remembered that if one came in from the left side of the stage, the other would come out from the right side. The skill they showed kept the show going, but the link was broken." The last fight happened in late 1973, while the show was practicing for an episode called The Badge. A quiet war finally broke out after years of building up. Blake and she was no longer able to hold back. "You've hidden her, Jim," she told him. Arness gave her a calm but cold look back. For him, Kitty was no longer just a thing. Her fame as a marshal was in danger because of her. "You made her too human," he said in a low voice. At that point there was no more coming together. It wasn't about lines or screen time anymore. It was a fight over what Gunsmoke was all about. Blake left practice and didn't come back until the cameras were rolling. Fans liked how emotional their last scene together was when the show aired. Kitty leaving Dodge City for good. People who saw it thought it was playing. The crew was sure it was real. Blake gave her notice when the season was over. She was asked to stay by the network. Arness didn't say anything. In one of the few interviews he did that year, all he said was, "Actors come and go." Fans talked a lot about The West Stays the Line. A lot of people thought it had a secret message. The get-together didn't change anything. RS left Hollywood when Gunsmoke stopped for good in 1975. He didn't do many interviews and spent his days fishing off the coast of California. He never talked about Amanda Blake at all. Even so, the rumors kept going on. Some people said that his quiet wasn't because he was angry, but because he felt guilty. After 10 years, CBS chose to bring the show back with Gunsmoke Return to Dodge, a reunion movie. When the producers called, Aries agreed right away. When they asked Blake to join, she hesitated until she found out that Aries had already said yes. Then she agreed, but there was one catch. Their scene together would be filmed first. It was easy to remember that day of the shoot. Matt Dillon and Kitty were seen together again after being apart for years. Blake tried to calm down in between takes. He asked in a low voice, "Do you ever miss Dodge?" Arness didn't look at her. "Only when it rains," he said, looking out to sea. For a fleeting moment there was warmth again, a shadow of what once was. But when the cameras came out, the feeling became real. As he reached for her arm, Arness's hands shook a little. Blake's eyes sparkled and she whispered, "You never came back for me." Her voice broke. Arness didn't say anything. The pause between them wasn't planned. That was the truth. They didn't talk again after the scene was over. Amanda Blake passed away 2 years later, in 1989, from problems caused by AIDS. RS did not show up to the memorial. He sent her a small note instead that said, "She was a part of my life's best work." Some people thought the message was cold. It was as close to an apology as he could get for other people. An old friend of Aries's told him, "We could have been close, but we were too much alike. Resolute, careful, and afraid to lose control." How people saw their story changed after they said that easy thing. The fight wasn't caused by hate. It was because they were proud. Pride that was tainted by feelings that neither of them could admit. Gunsmoke's curse and secret weapon were both the tension between James Arness and Amanda Blake in the end. Their distance off-screen made their chemistry on-screen something that no story could ever capture. What people thought was desire was actually anger. There was pride behind what looked like control. That secret truth kept their story going long after the last shot was fired. But it was their pride, the thing that kept them apart, that gave Gunsmoke its heart. Two people who were at odds with each other formed one of the most lasting relationships in TV history. Instead of warmth or unity, they were shocked by a real sense of tension. Just before he died in 2011, Aries finally took a moment to think about those years. He told his historian James Arness, "We made people believe in that world. It could be because we were both just trying to stay alive." There may be a better question than why he was mad at her. Did he ever stop? What do you think? How did the secret war between James Arness and Amanda Blake start the fire that made Gunsmoke famous? Or did it break up the relationship in a quiet way which could have changed TV forever?